Hello everyone. So I just took advantage of a great deal on the Walthers website. I got myself a couple more of these fantastic Broadway Limited imports Southern Pacific Daylight cars. I got the pre-war ones because these have these nice skirts, and they have fantastic interior lighting and detail. So I thought what I'd do is, while I was waiting for those to arrive, I would convert this EMD E8 that I got several years ago to DCC, because it's not DCC ready. So this is another one of those that I've been wanting to use as a means of getting some practice doing some DCC hardwiring, so I thought I'd do a tutorial. What we're going to use is, I've got 3 of these MRC decoders. 2 of them are being used for a different project, but the third one I thought I would use and put it in this. I'm also going to change out the headlight, because the headlight is an old bulbed headlight, and I thought I might either use this high brightness white LED, or I would use one of my warm white LEDs which had just arrived. We have to start with getting the body off. Now, Proto 2000 at this point were making bodies with these snap points right there and there, there and there. So what you need to do is just hold it in your hand, put your forefinger and little finger under the valance there, and just gently pull it apart, and the whole thing just pops off nicely. Now we need to identify exactly what each of these wires does and how to solder all the components in. We'll just take the little pile off while we're at it. I was thinking maybe I would paint the interior of the cab with the figures. So what do we see so far? We've got underneath that lighting board, these wires lead to the rear truck pickups, these 2 here. The forward pickups connect there and there. So we're going to follow those back and try and figure out where they... So we'll probably just snip those and resolder them onto the decoder. The motor pickups are obviously here and here, the black and red ones, and everything else, therefore, is contact to this double bulb setup that they use for the lights. I don't think I want to keep the Mars light function. I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to find an LED that fits nicely in this glazing, so that we can keep the fact that the number boards there are lit. You can just about see through there, so they will allow some light through. So I think I'm going to replace that with a warm white LED. And all that means that we have to do is, we've got our circuit map now, we know where everything needs to go. All of this junk at the back here, that's just circuitry to handle the Mars light. Everything else about the motor is very, very simple. In principle, our whole idea of right rail, left rail should hold straight, and I'm using a tutorial that it was put on the TCS Train Control Systems website. So let's get to it. I will get back to you when I've done a little bit more work on this one. Okay, so I've done a little bit of work on this. Cosmetically, I've painted the pilot a little bit to make it look like ones I've seen in photos. A little black plate there. I think that's going to look pretty good. I'm also at some point going to redo, I'm going to paint these little marker light things here, the windscreen wipers, I'm going to repaint some of the handrails because they look a little bit plasticky. That's just on the outside. So on the inside, I'll show you what's going on. I have removed all of the board at the back here, and I've also snipped quite a lot of the wires. I stripped away the cab interior, and I'm going to be painting that. I also removed the front headlight assembly and snipped that off, all of the wire contacts. Now, these particular models have some quirks, those being that there is a second lead. Normally there's just 2 leads to the motor, which you can see coming from the back here, going down into the motor. The red one is the top of the motor, the black one is the bottom. But this one actually connected in via this other red wire that you'll see I've insulated and cut off. What I'm going to do with that one is I'm going to treat that as our left rail pickup and connect it to this one. The blue ones on this side are also going to be connected, and they're going to be our right rail pickups. Here's the motor pickups here. Those are going to go to the orange and grey wires respectively. What I think I might do actually is, you'll see that there's a dual headlight assembly, and now there's a piece of glazing that goes in here which also connects this lower headlight to the number boards, so whatever I put in here will light up these 3 things, which is very nice. The top headlight, however, as I've seen in videos of this locomotive, is a Mars light. Now, what I took out was mostly basic electronics was basically electronics to deal with making the Mars light work in DC, in standard DC. But in DCC, there's a pretty good way you can program a chip to make a Mars light flash, and you don't need any of that fancy stuff. You can just do it within the chip. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to set up two separate headlights in here. One of them will be wired to the green wire of the decoder, which is a separate function headlight. The other one, the main headlight, is going to go to the white wire. That will be this lower headlight here. So, with a little bit more progress, I will update you. Hello everyone, so our locomotive is complete now. I just finished painting some of the handrails, the windscreen wipers at the front, reattaching the glazing, these marker lights, and reassembling the whole thing. So let's take it apart and have a look inside and see what I did. So as you can see, I painted the cab interior. I wired up two new LED lights. There's one there and one just underneath in there. Those wires come back towards the decoder, which is attached at the back. I tried to wire everything up and cut the lengths of wire so that it would just sit naturally, freely, without having to be fixed down to anything, and then I just put it on top of this cardboard. Reason being that the chips like to be able to cool off on their own. They don't like to be restricted down, otherwise they'll overheat. And this cardboard seemed like the simplest and easiest solution. It doesn't really matter because you're not going to see it through any windows. And then all of the wiring is taped down and fixed so that it doesn't cause any conflicts with the roof. Main reason being that the roof this is quite a tight fit because the weight comes up so high inside the body. There's not a huge amount of room up here, and I would imagine that you'd have trouble fitting a speaker in here for sound. So yeah, it's done. In the cab, a little bit of cab detail. Let's put the shell back on. It's a bit of a tight fit because of all the wiring that's now in it that didn't used to be in there. I have to get myself some much thinner wiring. The main problem you've got here is that the body doesn't want to sit that low on the cup on the weight now, and also getting it on with this pilot is a little bit tricky here and there. Oh, I fixed a little bit of electric tape inside the nose without covering up this light, so that it blocks out a lot of light leakage because the LEDs are now quite bright. So there we go. That's that one complete. Let's have a look at the lighting system then. Okay, so as you can see, we've actually got the British stock up at the moment, but here is our Southern Pacific E8 sitting here in the engine shed, ready to be tested. In a normal startup, you'd see the headlight go on first. There we go. That's just the headlight, and that handles, as you can see, the number boards, the lower headlight, and the number board on the other side. There is a little bit of light leakage on the other side, but there's not a huge amount I can do about that really, aside from maybe like fixing the pilot down really, like gluing it on maybe would fix that. The upper light actually isn't lit at the moment. That will turn on when we press F3. Which you'll see I've programmed into the chip an Mars light function. Ooh, that's a nice flare, look at that. It's like being in a J.J. Abrams movie. So that's, I think, prototypically accurate. I couldn't really find much footage of the daylight trains online, but I figure since that was what was originally in there, just without LEDs, then it was acceptable to do it. So there we go. That was my first dual headlight with a Mars light function wiring up job. Very smooth runner. Always were these Proto 2000 models. So here it is, finally pulling the entire train. I decided to get two of the articulated chair cars and the three-piece kitchen, tavern, coffee car set, and then I already had the observation car there. But yes, that's basically my daylight train complete. As you can see, there's all the boxes. They're really long boxes. It's been 3 years waiting to get this whole train. I think the wait was definitely worth it. As you might be able to tell, I changed the way the light at the front works. I know it's supposed to be a Mars light, but I really couldn't tell that the Mars light was working, so I decided to instead have it be a flashing strobe, just so you could see it.
That's just marvellous. Those articulated cars go around the corners so well. And the paint's really nice. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this train. The only downside is that it takes a lot of power to run. My DCC system is only running this at the moment because the lights in these cars demand so much juice. That locomotive is going, you know, at half the speed it should. So here she is coming through a very un-Californian British station. But that's what I had at the moment. That's what I had set out. There's the kitchen car, tavern, the two coaches at the back, and then the observation car at the very rear. It's a very nice looking train. I'm pretty happy with this. It doesn't do sound, it's a pretty simple DCC installation, but that's how you do it. I have one other locomotive I'm going to do, which is similar design to this one. It's an older Proto 2000 E8. But I've got a lot of other things on my plate right now, so for now I'm just going to be enjoying this train, which I'm very happy with, and should be, because it cost quite a bit of money.